Good morning and welcome to Valley Views. I'm your host, Glenn Edison. We're certainly glad to have you, and we want to especially thank BTC Fiber, our sponsor. You can see us on BTC Fiber's YouTube page as well as Channel 18, so go there, like us, and subscribe, and see all the issues of Valley View. And today we have with us Winston Pickett. He's a former chamber director, and he works with Valley Fest, and I guess you oversee the property there.
Yeah, I do.
You probably wear a lot of titles, don't you?
All volunteer.
Yeah.
All volunteer.
Well, we're here today talking about the upcoming golf tournament for Valley Fest, and so Winston, tell us a little bit about like how long it's been going on.
Okay.
And
Let me, if you don't mind, give you kind of a quick history. This Valley Fest project all started out of the chamber.
Right.
It was a group of adult leaders that were looking for a project, and long story short, it mulled around for several weeks, and finally it came up with the name Valley Fest, and we started from that about 10 or 11 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And luckily it's grown well. Our sponsorship's been really good. BTC Fiber is a major. Our local banks participate and always have since the beginning, and several others that too many to list,
right,
because I'm sure we'd forget somebody, but even individuals that will be a $250 sponsor. So that's a good thing. We finally realized that we need to form a 501c3 to be legitimate with everything and have to report and do all the right things.
Right.
We've done that. Mr. Jakey Cooley is our Secretary Treasurer. Appropriate to have a banker, I guess, to fill
Yeah.
in that role. But it has gained quite a bit of momentum. We were able, through the help of County Executive Mr. Lewis back in those days, Claude Lewis, working together to purchase the 17 acres, which has become Valley Fest Properties. It has since grown.
Right.
We have added a house and about another acre, and we have a group that's going to give us about 8 acres that joins the creek side. So it's going to become more than 17. We still refer to it as the 17 plus acres. So we've got the disc golf. We've got the yard sale just finished up over there for a week. We've got all sorts of events. The rodeo, the S03E07 rodeo takes place. It's a community-based piece of property, and Valley Fest Inc. is on paper as the manager. We paid for half of the value, passed it to the county, and they've paid the balance off. So actually, it is duly paid for as we speak.
Oh, well, good.
So,
And this golf tournament that's coming up the 28th, right?
28th of August on a Saturday.
That's been going on for several years.
Several years. I think this is maybe and we don't have it on the brochure. We probably ought to do that. But I think this is about the 9th year. We've done it several years since the golf course has been back available. Let's put it that way. Actually, we did one, maybe two, at Fall Creek during the times when the golf course wasn't available. So it does go back a way. It's the only other fundraising event that we have outside the festival. And go back to the festival, we were able this year, because of our generosity of our community, to do a free admission and not cut back on any of the entertainment or thing. In fact, it was the largest ever.
Right.
And we think that's the way to go if our sponsors will continue, and we continue to grow that. So the golf tournament is a major piece. It's the only other actual cash revenue piece that we have, and we have hole sponsors. They're $100 a piece, and we usually have more than 18, so some of them double up on other holes. We have other cash donators, gifts and prizes. O'Reilly's, Citizens Bank, they all give us things to hand out as freebies. We have an admission fee, 4-man team. It's a 4-person scramble or select shot, same usage, and it's a lot of fun, and we hope the weather cooperates, and we look forward to doing that on the 28th of August on a Saturday morning at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock,
with free breakfast provided by McDonald's this year.
I noticed that in the brochure that and I'm sure they'll like that.
Oh yeah, they do that, and when they don't do it, Hardee's picks it up. We've used a couple others in the past, but those are the two primaries. They like to operate it back and forth, and we don't have a problem with that. So
yeah.
that's a standing offer, I guess you'd say.
Well, that's too good. I've eaten breakfast at both places.
Oh, me too. Yeah,
So,
both of them have great coffee and great breakfast food. So,
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
They do.
I like their coffees.
Uh-huh.
I'm a big coffee drinker.
And
So
me too.
Well, usually, how many usually turn out for this?
We hope to get at least 18 teams. We have had as many as 22.
Uh-huh.
And you say, why 18? Well, there's 18 holes, and we shotgun start, so everybody can start. But if you have more than that, then you go to the par fives, and you put an A and a B. So we've got enough that we could go up to 22 without any problem. We could go more than that, but if we get to 20, we'd be very tickled.
Oh, I bet.
I think we have 14, and we're 3 weeks out. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And some just show up on that day if the weather's good, you know.
Yeah.
And that's fine. We take it and put them right in. It's not a problem.
Yeah, even if they come as an individual, they can get put in.
Individuals. We've had individuals say, hey, I can't get a team, but can you put me on the standby and I'll show up, and if you can put me on a team, fine. If you can't, we understand. And that we do that. We've done that quite regularly.
And there's a lot of golfers in this area.
Yes.
They get out, and it's one of those things where it's an individual sport. You just get out there and you kind of relax, you know.
Well, it is, and I'll have to say our local management of Mount Airy has been really good to our local group. We have a Tuesday, Thursday group right now that starts 8 because of the heat. We usually start at 9, but we've been starting at 8 because of the hot weather. And we have close to 50 on our list, and we'll have, well, let's see, today's Wednesday. Tuesday, we had 33 players.
Wow.
So we had 11 three-man teams. I mean, it's just, yeah. And so we go anywhere from 40 down to 20, depending on weather.
Right.
That play at least 2 times a week.
Well, I've seen some out there playing. I'm thinking, man, it's awful cold today.
A true golfer will tell you it's never too cold on the golf course.
Yeah.
Or never too hot.
Well, and like I said, all the money goes towards the Valley Fest, and the Valley Fest property. If people went this year, they noticed all the additions. Matter of fact, I think it's called Pickett Pavilion.
Well, yes, not by my choosing, but it's appreciated. I'll tell you how that happened. County Executive Cartwright and I, we work closely on several things, and he said, we really need to get some restrooms over there. And I said, we do. And one thing led to another, and he said, I think I heard the other day that there's some grant monies available through the health department. So we called the health people in Chattanooga, and they said, yeah, we just have about a $30,000 limit on one, and we literally set it out over the telephone, did a conference call, and then got the papers and signed them and sent them in, and was granted. That's how we got where we are with the building. It gave us enough to get the restrooms in, get it, as we said, usable. It's not completely finished. That's the next step. That'll happen hopefully this fall. But it's a good place. Now people can use it as meeting places. Our Valley Fest committee, which is about 25, well, you're there, 25, 30 people that come and plan for our next year's festival. We meet at that site now. So it's going to be a multi-purpose building.
Well, I know at Valley Fest, I went inside just to see what all it was, because I'd never been in there and at that time, and it's really nice.
Yeah, it's got an office area which will be used for lots of things, and an individual restroom in there, and then it's got the men and women's that's got the entrances to the other side. We can put equipment inside. It's got desk and tables built against the wall, furnishings for our hospitality room, and that's a great thing. We don't have to go somewhere. Everything's right there. So it's working out to be a really, really nice thing, and it will probably lead to something else one day.
Well, good.
That's our plan anyway.
Well, with the addition of the acres to come and all that, and it's been Valley Fest has been a program that has grown from day one.
It has.
I remember working that very first Valley Fest, and I was tired, as most of the volunteers are, but it was a lot of fun, enjoyed it, and then now it's got to where it's, you just step back and think, wow,
I've got my hat, I keep crop regularly with me, but the other person that I know that had one of these was on our board who is no longer with us, Mr. Kurt Wisser.
Uh-huh.
Now, Mr. Kurt Wisser did not know at the time. He just came and he made the comment. He said, "This is one of the best activities I've seen since I moved to this community." And he was a volunteer. And we put him on the back gate. I mean, out backside of nowhere, and I'm carrying drinks around, and you know how we do, and didn't really know who he was. Turns out he had been a major CEO from a company across the country, and he's volunteering and stayed with us and was a board member until his passing.
Well,
So that's the kind of thing we like to see. He came, I think, from Pennsylvania to move here, and just loved it. And a lot of good volunteers have done that.
Well, I see. That's the neat thing about Valley Fest is you get people that just want to be out there. They're having fun.
Mm-hmm.
They're volunteering and having fun and enjoying it. And of course, nobody gets paid.
It's a volunteer program.
But everybody loves it.
Yeah, they do. The only people we pay in that is the entertainers.
Right.
The other people, like the vendors, we can have probably close to 100 vendor spaces out there. Most of them with electricity and water if they need it.
Uh-huh.
We've been able to put that in the last few years, and hopefully we'll have to expand that one day. But that's a source of income. The vendors pay. Of course, most of them make money, so they don't mind. Food vendors, arts and crafts vendors, you name it. We've got space for them if they'd like to be there.
Well, there was all kinds this year. I mean, there were several. I mean, when I got hungry, I was thinking, well, I could eat here, and then I thought, well, I like that. I couldn't decide where to eat.
And every so often you'd hear a chainsaw crank, and we had an artist that was doing chainsaw art. So that was a neat thing, yeah.
I don't see how they do that, but it's amazing to watch them. And are there other plans? You mentioned a few uses for the property. Are there other plans?
The thing that we did not have this past year was a carnival, because we like to do that and run it kind of like the fair does, run it for several days. I think the fair starts next week with their midway, and we use those same people most of the time, and of course we do it in the spring. They do theirs in the late summer, early fall. Works out. That's one thing, and we couldn't do it this last year because of the COVID deal.
Right.
But they say now they know how to deal with all that, and it should be available if things don't get a lot worse between now and next May. So that's one thing, and it runs beyond the 2 days of the festival. It runs about a week.
Yeah.
Other activities, we've got the new pavilion. Have you seen it on the south end down by the creek?
No, I have not.
It is now in the dry. We still got a few things to do to it. We have purchased the house across the corner there, which gives us a south entrance, and we're going to do some modification to it, place to put our equipment, our tractor and things in the dry. Since we're turning the other building into a multi-purpose, we're looking for others. But those are things that are on the horizon to develop, and we've got an individual that's interested in helping us financially, and we're working on that as a gift. Once that happens, then we'll announce some other plans, but I can't talk about that a great deal right now.
Well, and one thing people need to understand is when you go to Valley Fest, it's not just people from Sequatchie County. No. They're from all over.
All over, yeah. And we try to keep it family friendly. We've not done any alcohol sales or anything like that. We've had people ask. We've had people suggest, but the board, it's not my personal, we have an operating board and a large committee, which you have been part of for many times, that help us make those decisions. And we want to try to keep it that way and have it an uplifting, fun time for everybody, at least for 2 days.
Right.
Of course, it takes a day to set up and 2 days to operate and a day to take down, but that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know, was it last year that Riverbend couldn't have their festival, and we probably got some people from that.
We did.
And
Riverbend has been a real supporter from day one. When we first started that, one of the people in the class said, well, I know somebody that works at Riverbend, and made a call. And they invited us over, the group from the leadership class, and they said, let us come over and see what you're doing, and we'll help you. And they did. And I'll have to say, going back to the property, we're standing at the corner behind the city hall. We're using those 2 city blocks, had permission from the bank and the city hall to use that on the weekend. And they said, you're way ahead of us in our start. And the guy looked over and said, that field, which had about waist-high grass in it at the time, he said, who owns that? And I said, well, that's privately held. He said, I can tell you, you're going to have to grow. Now, he helped us be visionary with that, and that's a good thing. I like that.
Right.
That's how the property came about. Because the Riverbend people said, you don't need to look today, you're going to grow fast, and they were right.
Yeah.
So they're right.
Well, that's true, and it has grown. The first year, I mean, we were busy, but now it's just the crowds are just, you look at the crowd and they're just.
And of course, the way that works, the more we do, the more sponsors we have, the larger it becomes, because we want to grow it. We never carry over any money that is not necessary for next year's planning. That's basically the way we operate. Our budget's set on what we anticipate coming. It's got at least verbal commitments, and we operate from there. And Lord's been good to us, and everybody's come through with their part when they said they would. So that's the way I hope we could continue.
Well, and the entertainment we have, of course, I know when we mentioned Riverbend, that they were able to, back when they were several days long, they had a bigger budget and they could bring in the big time people. Yeah. We operate on a smaller budget, nothing like they were, but we have good entertainment as well. We do, and we've kind of patterned that after them, and some of the people that they have has helped us with acts. Of course, we're local. To have a local guy that helps us, that has the inside of the business. Mr. Cody McCarver's been with us from day one, and those contacts are very valuable. Of course, we continue to branch those out as we do. Other people say, hey, well, I know how to get this, and I've done this, and that's what we want. We want it to be a complete community involvement, not just an individual thing. So. Well, and after a while, I know sometimes acts will hear of how an event like Valley Fest has grown, and they say, hey, we'd like to come. Our website gets contacts all the time. It says, I'm available that time, and as we are able to, we will take it. You know how it works. If you want the big acts, it's big bucks. Yeah. And people like Nashville Nights, they can afford it, of course, in Nashville, and they've got all the people right there anyway. Riverbend, there's several others. There's one at Memphis. That has a big festival that's music bound, and their budgets started out small and have grown, and hopefully that's what ours will continue to do. Well, you look at festivals like Bonnaroo, those tickets are astronomical. Unreal. And of course, they have a lot of top groups from around the world, not just from the state. Yeah. But and last year, speaking of COVID, as mentioned earlier. This past Valley Fest, everybody seemed to be doing well. They kept their distance, and we keep up with the statistics through the health department and all, and there didn't seem to be any real spike because people did. One of our local businesses, Benton Steel, produced some stationary hand sanitizers. Our emergency management people brought masks and sanitizers. Luckily, we didn't have to come up with any of that, but we used it. We produced signs to warn everybody about spacing and when possible, use a mask, even though you're outside. Right. You just need to be smart about it. Now, this new variant, we'll just have to deal with it as it comes along, and it seems to be running a little bit wild right now. Yeah, so, it does. Yeah. Right. Never know what Mother Nature has out there. No, and I guess in any of these events that we have at Valley Fest, that people need to just use a little common sense. Yes. If they're not feeling well or feel like they don't need to get out, then don't come. Please don't. That's right. Protect yourself and others. Yeah, but I know, and the weather this year participated too. It wasn't hot. It was one of the most pleasant times. We've had real cold, real wet. Now this one was really nice. It was, yes. And I went around all the vendors and just to see everybody and talk to people, and they were all having a good time as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. We have a lot of folks that say, "Can I have my same spot if I go ahead and pay for next year?" That's a good thing. Yeah. We will do that on people who've been with us for a long time, but you kind of have to earn your place. Right. And we've got a committee. I don't do that. Ms. Pam Mooneyham right now is the chair of that facilities piece, and
she really does a great job of planning it out and working with people, and we had very few complaints, let's put it that way, and that's a good thing because we have had a few over the years.
Well, you get something so big you can't think of everything, and
Cannot.
then sometimes things just come up,
Mm-hmm.
and and so you can't help everything.
You can, but we got people in the area like Pickett, for example, with the ambulance service, and they provide on site. Our city and county police authorities, they're always there day and night. They watch it at night when we set up so nobody messes with anything security wise. We're very fortunate to have it supported by at least seeming like most of the community. Of course, you've got naysayers, you always do.
Yeah, but I just tell them, if you don't like it, don't come.
There you go.
know?
It's a free event, so just I hope it'll stay a free event. Yeah.
Well, that's something we've worked hard to, and of course, I think it was $10 when we did charge, which is not a whole lot of money.
Not a lot for 2 days.
And so I mean, if you think about that, I mean, that's not a lot of money.
Then I think we dropped it to $8 and $2, $8 for and $2 for, and did the bands and you know. Here's the difference in it. If we can maintain the free access, what it does for our general community is that we don't have to put up the barriers and all that sort of thing to try to keep honest people out. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like I say, it's just a reminder of people, this is the thing, if you want in, you should pay. That way we don't have to do it. We put up the barriers just to control the traffic flow and be safe, and that's all we have to do with it.
Right.
And that's so much easier on everybody if we can do free admission.
Oh, I know, because when you had downtown, of course, you have to block off this street out here, and then you have to put all the barriers up. And
entranceway.
And that takes a lot of work.
It does. It really does. Well, we've got the entrance now, the Cooper Creek area with the big sign, and we got the walkways in and out. Not that you can't come in other ways, you can, but we do manage to control the parking and access of traffic, which is always a safety hazard. But the city's been so good to allow us to advance, ask for closing of this street, Pine Street, Widener Lane, Cherry Street, whatever we need, and they've been really good. And we do the car show. We do it across the street, you know.
Oh, it was the biggest one this year, I believe they've had.
Mm-hmm. And that may move if all goes well. We've got our area gravel now, and we're about ready to put down asphalt. I think when that happens, the car show may wish to come maybe the weekend before or a day or so before, so it can be on site. We haven't figured that out yet, but one thing brings on another, you know.
Right.
In Victory, our folks have closed their lot. I'm not sure what's going to happen to that property. That's where we've held a lot of it.
Yeah.
But our neighbor next door, the Lewis car place, they have been really good about moving over and giving us some space as well.
Yes, they were this year.
Yeah, very cooperative.
And a lot of nice cars.
Yes, a lot of wonderful cars.
And
I have been in that. I do not have one now, but you really want to baby those things. They're they're your precious.
And some of them, the ones I saw this year, they were vintage. They went back a few years.
Way back, I do.
And I thought, wow, that's nice.
Well, I was born in '42, and my last one was a 36 Ford Cabriolet.
Yeah.
And by the time we got through, it was a very expensive piece. I keep up with that by way of the where it's in St. Paul, Minnesota. Fellow calls every once in a while, so ask me about this and that. Yeah. Everybody treats them like they're a child.
Yeah, well, and it's nice though.
It
I
is.
mean, once you anything like that.
Yes, it is.
Well, I hope this with everything, especially with the new acreage and, like I said, the paving of the lot there, and the purchase of that home where you can put everything. It sounds like eventually it's going to grow, maybe even to more days possibly.
It really is, and this is not an announcement, it's just a fact. We have been planning for the future, and it's very possible that down the line, if it continues to grow in significance, we may end up with a civic center there. That's kind of the plan in the back of the mind. Because where do we have an indoor facility that can seat even enough for our high school to graduate everybody inside?
Right.
That's we're thinking about making a multi-use so we can do large indoor events as well. But that's going to take a little bit. But I think in the planning, that's a good thing to be looking at, whether it happens now or 10 years from now. But
well, even with the indoor events, you could do things like arts and crafts shows and other things that wouldn't have to be outside.
that's right.
And you wouldn't have to worry about the weather. You'd be
Office
inside.
space, rental space, there's all sorts of activities. We've looked at several, like our friends in McMinn will have a wonderful one
Yes,
just
they
across
do.
the way. Our friends over in Athens, Tennessee, we've been around. We went to Rainsville, Alabama. They've got a wonderful facility. And that's how they grew. They started small and it eventually grew. And so, yeah, that's sort of advanced planning. But
Well,
it's
if
good
you
to
look
do.
at it, Rainsville is a very small town. Of course, McMinnville is a decent sized town, but they're not really big
They're
town.
not metropolitans, no.
And Athens the same thing. They're the only reason they grow is because they're by the
They're
interstate.
on interstate, that's exactly
And
right.
so, it's a lot of these small areas that, and what I found out over the years is the people here, businesses and individuals, they're willing to help.
Yes.
And, whether it be monetarily or their time, or donating gifts or whatever they.
Well, back to the term Valley Fest, the reason that the group came up with that name is the concept. It's not just Sequatchie County.
Right.
Blessed as we are, we're in the center of the valley. We can't deny that. And we have access of highways coming through. But our friends to the north, Bledsoe, our friends to the south, Marion, and then little touches of Van Buren and Grundy, and even some of Hamilton, we try to draw from all of that and say this is not a Sequatchie County event, this is a valley event. And we've got one of the most blessed, beautiful places in the world. There's no question about it. So, and more people are finding that, as you well know.
Right. And, with our, I know there's a lot of programs going on with our tourism, trying to bring more people in, and then with the downtown historic area. And I kind of see, I've told people this before, and I see Dunlap and Sequatchie County being a little Pigeon Forges eventually, because the more and more people come over here, it's going to bring more and more people. And, I'm not saying that we need all the rides and stuff that Pigeon Forge has.
Well,
but
it grew from a very small thing to what it is. Of course, it was sitting next to Gatlinburg. I have to tell you this quickly. When my dad and I, back in the early 60s, were looking at developing our farm and the creek that we had into a trout place, which we eventually did, there was a fellow that had helped organize Tansy. And he and his son were selling little A-frame chalets, which I ended up building, and that's where our kids were raised and all, and that's still there. And he came down and he said that same thing years and years ago. He said, "Young man, let me tell you, this valley has yet to be discovered." He said, "I grew up in Pigeon Forge. It won't be too long till this will be a small Pigeon Forge." Now that's in the 60s.
Yeah.
And I thought how prophetic that gentleman was, and got us to see that what we do have. We just need to take care of it and use it wisely.
Well, Winston, is there anything else we need to add?
I think that's it. Just remember our golf tournament.
All right,
coming
that's
up.
August
3 weeks.
28th.
August.
Hey everybody, this is Glenn Edison from Valley Views. We appreciate you watching our shows, and we would like for you to like, share, and follow us on Facebook, as well as like and subscribe to our YouTube page.
Brought to you by Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative, your full-service telecommunications provider right here in the Sequatchie Valley.